Good afternoon. Can you kindly ensure that your cell phones are off or switched to vibrate or silent, please? Honorable Minister of Youth, Sports and Culture, Dr. Danielle Johnson, distinguished guests, members of the press, good afternoon. I am pleased to welcome you all to our momentous press conference where we will be announcing our title partner for the upcoming Baja Amazing event. My name is Bianca Bethel Sawyer, and I am the Senior Director of Communications, and I will be your moderator. Today, you'll be hearing remarks from 4 speakers. First will be LOC Executive Chairman, Mr. Keith Parker, followed by LOC CEO and Vice Chairman, Mike Sands, who will introduce our title partner and invite the representative to bring remarks. Last but in no means least, Minister Johnson will bring his remarks. Also seated at the table is LOC Managing Director, Mr. Lionel Haven, who has all the answers to all of your questions today. So without further ado, I now turn the floor over to Mr. Parker.
Thank you, Bianca. Mr. Williams, CEO, BTC, members of the press, ladies and gentlemen, welcome. This is a surprise, I'm sure, to Bianca, that I don't usually read my notes, but she's prepared a very good synopsis for me, so if you'll forgive me, I will read my notes, mostly. As we all know, and Mike knows the exact number of days, we've reached a milestone in our preparation for this, the second version of the IAAF relays. We're putting all the pieces together. I think we're well in advance of where we were at this stage last year, and we're looking forward to hosting an even greater event. You may know, this isn't in the script, that it was televised by 161 countries last year. We had 43 teams, different countries entered, and as of today, with several weeks still to go before entries close, we have 50 entries. So it looks as though we're well on the way to exceeding last year's event. I'm pleased to announce, of course, that we're one step closer, a big step closer to being prepared. Earlier this week, we introduced our national partners and suppliers, and today we introduce a key person and sponsor, our title sponsor. This is a very important role. I must say that the exposure for the title sponsor is incredible. I referred to the television time in 161 countries, 52 minutes of each day's highlights, and of course the title sponsor gets tremendous exposure. Just imagine how much 52 minutes of exposure would cost on 161 stations. Maybe the sponsorship fee should be much higher. Our ticket sales continue to move steadily, and we urge the public, and we hope the press impresses upon the public the necessity to buy tickets early. I bought some additional tickets yesterday for friends of mine, and I had to search hard, and the young lady assisting me to find gold seats adjacent to the tickets I already have purchased. So don't run the risk of not being able to get the tickets you wish. I personally would like to thank the local press for the tremendous job you're doing on our behalf in publicizing the relays. And we hope after today you will continue that as we step up our advertising and promotion. And of course, today it's not as though we're cancelling the IAAF World Relays, but I suppose we are in a way, because after today, we should all be referring to this as the IAAF BTC World Relays Bahamas 2015. Thank you all.
Good morning. Corporate Bahamas has played a vital role in the success of last year's IAAF World Relays that left the world in awe. All they could say was simply Baha amazing. We are once again very pleased that one of the principal corporate partners is back, this time as a title partner for the IAAF World Relays Bahamas 2015. The local organizing committee has developed a relationship with this partner that we are convinced serves as an example of the type of partnership necessary in the hosting of major international events such as the IAAF World Relays. It was not easy getting to this point, but both sides understanding and appreciating the demands and the requirements of each other's work through the challenges and concluded a mutually beneficial agreement that we are confident will contribute significantly to a world-class athletic event. Last year, the event, as Mr. Parker Chubbin mentioned, was televised regionally, nationally, and internationally to audience in 160 plus countries. This year, we expect to once again enter the homes of millions of global spectators, providing exposure for our title partner and the country. And as Mr. Parker mentioned, to date, I think we have advised that there are maybe in some 166 countries, and we are aware that there are to date 1,060 athletes, coaches, and officials that have indicated their intent to be here. Further, we are convinced that our partners' association with this globally recognized IAAF brand, together with the local organizing committee, to provide value for your investment will demonstrate to Bahamians your commitment to nation building through sports. So I take pride, even though Mr. Parker already did it, I take pride in introducing this year our title partner for the IAAF World Relays, the Bahamas Telecommunications Company. And as such, therefore, from this point on, this year's event will be officially known as the IAAF BTC World Relays Bahamas 2015. We are extremely grateful to you, Mr. Williams, the CEO of BTC, and your team for their willingness to join hands with the local organizing committee as we move forward to May 2nd and 3rd, and the second edition of a Baha Amazing experience. Thank you.
Thank you, Honorable Minister, Chairman Parker, CEO Sands. Let me start out in changing whatever my thoughts were. Because Mr. Parker, you should be sitting there on that front row with the BTC executives. Because with such a marketing plan that you just put forward, I should have known that prior to the sponsorship, and then I could have convinced everyone in BTC about the cost, benefits of sponsoring these games. 150, you're in the wrong seat right now. So, you know, for the VP of Marketing who's sitting on the front row, and the VP of Enterprise, Mr. Gershon Major, you have really put their jobs into jeopardy right now. Notwithstanding, BTC has always been embedded in Bahamian culture and in the sponsoring of Bahamian athletes. And so just a couple of weeks ago, we sponsored the high school nationals. Just about 2 Saturdays ago, I was down at the Malaya Hotel where BTC was sponsoring again the swim meet for the Carifta team. So we've had Carifta teams that has been labeled as our title sponsor, the BTC Carifta teams, for both the swim and for the track and field. We've sponsored the B3As. And so it was not a tall order or a stretch to go and sponsor the IAAF games relays, and particularly because of the success that took place last year in 2014. It was not Minister Johnson who introduced the games in the House of Assembly, but I saw Minister Fitzgerald got up as an introduction to Minister Johnson, and he read from international print about how the athletes were so amazed that this had been the best thing that had happened since sliced bread. The amount of records that had been broken, and particularly in the long distance races, particularly because of the drums done by the Junkanoo. And so, as I stated, if they could come back here this year, in 2015, and the Junkanoos could play the drums, and the athletes from Africa could come and set new world records again. You can imagine what this will do for the Bahamas. It'll be the 2016, it'll be 2017, and we're looking forward to 2020. So we're very privileged on behalf of the 800 employees and the executives that are sitting on the stand there to be able to be the title sponsor for this. Just in May, I have to come back to Minister Johnson again because we will be sponsoring to the tune of $1 million the Bahamas Junkanoo Carnival.
Yeah.
And so I keep seeing Minister Johnson over and over again with a different hat on, you know. Now he's sitting at the table with him and Brother Mike Sands. Next week he'll be sitting at the table with me, with him and Mr. Paul Major, and it just goes on and on and on. And so Gershon, he has booked lunch for me and you to have with Minister Johnson because he wants to talk some more money. And so as we sit here, Minister Johnson, I want you to know that BTC right now, as we speak, is deploying IPTV into some areas in the Bahamas that has not had television. And the Prime Minister of the country continues to say, for example, that we've got an Olympian who is running on the world stage and his mother living in places like Bannermantown or Luthra has not been able to watch him run. For this game, Minister, we've got about 66 people in Cat Island that are testing IPTV. We've got over 100 people testing 130 channels for IPTV in Bimini. We've got people in Andros testing IPTV. We've got customers down in Inagua testing IPTV, and in Cat Island. These folks, for the first time, will have the ability to see live IAAF relays without having to come to Nassau, the capital. And I think beyond the sponsorship of the 250,000 or whatever that means in kind, the fact that we are removing the barriers that now marginalize Bahamians because of the telecommunications experience brings more value to me as a Bahamian than maybe the 50 million people in the world who will be watching these games. The fact that Bahamian athletes, their parents and their grandparents in Cat Island and in Inagua could watch them run here in the Bahamas. And I think that's history-making for us in these games. So thank you for the opportunity on behalf of the 800 employees at BTC for us to be able to become the BTC sponsors, title sponsors for these games. God bless you all.
Y'all give it up for BTC, man. This is... Ladies and gentlemen, thank you all so very much for coming. This is yet again a wonderful time of year for us in the Bahamas as we are coming out of Lent and thanking God for the many blessings that have been bestowed upon us as a country and a culture, and getting into the spring of nature, but also the springtime of the life of this young country, where we see us moving now into ownership, leadership, and being competitive on the world stage. So last year, people had great intrepidation about us spending, this $10 million to bring these people here to run around in circles. Could not imagine how this was going to work. And launching something is the hardest thing. Getting something started is the hardest thing. And I really want to thank everyone from last year. Most of the team is still here. BTC was with us last year. Carol nearly had a heart attack with us last year. Lionel lost some hair last year. Mike gone gray last year. But guess what? It was fantastic, and we're all here. To this team, please give them a round of applause. The calmest one of them all was Mr. Parker, because he say at his stage he ain't got nothing to lose. See, he think he'll be all right. And so it's good to have experience at the helm and partners at your side, to be honest with you. We want to let the Bahamian public know that we are going to be better this year. We had, I think, a wonderful learning curve. We made it through. We want to show everyone that our brand, and we had a fantastic launch of our brand. We didn't only launch Bahamas World Relays 2014. We launched the Bahamas going into an industry that is the industry of sports. It is a multi-billion-dollar industry all around the world. And we moved for the first time ever in our history from being just the fella on the field who doesn't get any royalties to now being the country at the table who will get the economic impact. That's where we're going with this thing. So last year we successfully launched the brand that is our brand. We're the only ones who have the brand. And it's called Sports in Paradise. Sports in Paradise. There's only one real paradise island on this planet. There's only one place called the Bahamas on this planet. And last year we proclaimed that this is the newest and fastest track on the planet, and ain't no other track had 3 world records set in one weekend. So give it up for the Bahamas. As a result of that, we now attract more attention and more partners. But notice what we're doing. We're sticking with our own. Well, don't be no fool. The doctor off say, stay in school. Don't stick with your own. And so we're very proud to have the CEO of BTC here with us today, a friend of mine, a friend of the Bahamas, someone who is pushing us to higher and higher levels of achievement. His fantastic team. I'll give it up for his team. They take a lot of pressure from us. We have, in particular, Gershon and Carol, who have been very patient with myself because I'm not as techno-savvy as some might imagine. But I got a lot of words about it, but I don't know where they fit. But like Bahamians, we want to see the very best, and we expect the very best. And so once again this year, we're very proud to say that we'll be welcoming the world to the Bahamas. As Mr. Parker says, we have 50 teams already registered, 100 and something media houses in town. But even more than that is going to happen. Around this brand now, we're building the extension of what we've always had. You all know that song, the great Calypso, once is not enough. Yep, so we did 14. And then they say twice. You ain't see all our stuff. So 15, we can show them some more. But you want them to come back again and again and again. And that's how we're going to build this industry. We want to institutionalize dates, times, and places that every year in May, you should expect these World Relays or some kind of similar event, Bahamas Junkanoo Carnival or some kind of similar event, a major sailing event, every year at the same time, same place. Because the business model that they have and that we as a government have dictates that we're going to make our money back from this fivefold. Fivefold. No joke. That's when you know you're in the business of sports. I also want to recognize the wonderful Pauline Davis Thompson. Please stand up so everyone can see you. Who really was the spark that got this thing going. And she is the ranking IAAF council member, the only woman of color to sit at that table in the world, Pauline Davis. And as a result of this, folks, after we did this last year, because they said I was betting my political career on this one, and then I had much of a career anyhow, so 25 cents, I'll put it up. After what we did last year, and that's why I want to congratulate everyone, it wasn't just us. The Bahamas government, the confidence of the Prime Minister, the intention of the Ministry of Tourism, the help of the Ministry of Works, all our partners, the entire agencies of the country cooperated mightily with us. And as a result now, we now have for the next 5 to 7 years in some of these categories, just in the business of sports. The LPGA coming to town every year. We now have booked the Tiger Woods World Hero Golf Challenge for the next 2 to 3 years. They're putting in $20 million to get started of their own money. You're going to see the NCAA bowl game that we had at this stadium last year, which got 50 million hits. Christmas Eve, as ranked as the second best bowl game of the year. ESPN 72 hours every 15 minutes. Every 15 minutes, Bahama Bowl. 50 million hits on that game alone. We, of course, have NCAA basketball. We now move not to just one tournament, we're going to move to 2 tournaments a year. We now have booked for the next 5 years Star Class Sailing for 5 years running. And next year, ladies and gentlemen, you will see the Bahamas host the World Cup of Beach Soccer in Nassau, the Bahamas. So you can see that this is not just a one-off for us. This year is the election year of the IAAF. They'll be in town. Everybody will be here to see what it is we do. In May, we're going to have the best time we've ever had in our lives. The first day of May, the Kiddies Carnival, the music festival for children, Culture Fest will open in the new Jumbe Village downtown in Arawaki with a massive event. 28 different junior groups will be out to show what they can do, all Bahamian art, all Bahamian materials. That's from 5 to 10. Later that night, Bahama will host its first black tie gala event, and they are going to pour everything that you could imagine at that. The next day, of course, IAAF World Relays opens on the 2nd of May. The 3rd of May, we'll see the culmination of the second edition of the World Relays, where we know that the Bahamas men's 4x4 team will be in contention. The Americans will be back to see what they could do, and I think we're going to get a pleasant surprise from one other country in the Caribbean who has some plans that I don't want to tell you all yet. On Monday of that week, the private events for Junkanoo Carnival begin, and you will see about 5 events a day for the next 10 days. The Wednesday of that week, the village formally opens. Bahama will do its second gala event simultaneously. You cannot imagine the amount of people that will be here. Every hotel room in this country is booked from now until the end of May. Every single room, every car, every pot, every pan is booked until the end of May. During that week, you'll see on Friday, we'll begin the music competition, which will bring people from all over the Bahamas and all over the world. You'll see another 150 media houses come to bear. People from the Grammys, people from all around the arts and culture world will be in the Bahamas for 10 days. Saturday will culminate in our Road Fever, and Saturday night, a concert that you will never ever see again in your life. All of the greats will be here. Not some, but all. Every single person. So we're also encouraging people from the sports world to stay a few more days. If you think you've seen Junkanoo last time, I'll leave this with you all this time, Mike. Tell them you ain't seen nothing yet. Stay tuned. Thank you very much.
Thank you all. We'll now have the formal signing of the contract. I'm going to ask Mr. Jamiko Archer, our legal advisor, to come and facilitate that process.
mightily to the infrastructure around the stadium and the capacity we have to do many things that is reflected in what you see here. So their contribution is much more than you could see. I want to make sure that the public knows this.
And I just want to add, Minister, since you did that, I just came straight from a meeting with Ericsson, who is our network provider. And usually we bring cows, cellular on wheels here, but I think the last time we did it was for the memorial of House Miles Monroe, and there was a fire in the back. So we are putting in a in-building solution so that it'll be permanent here. You wouldn't have to worry about BTC pulling up a cow the next time. Whenever you have a function at the stadium, cellular services and Wi-Fi will be available. A permanent solution.
Okay. Now we've come to the question and answer period. Please don't forget to please mention your name and media house that you represent. The floor has been open for questions.
Not all at once. Questions?
Good afternoon. Travis Etcham from the Councillors. How has the ticket sales, this is for the LOC, Mr. Haven, you probably could answer this question. Has the ticket sales been going so far since the ticket sales has been launched?
Good morning, everybody. Since the introduction of the ticket sales, we've found that the ticket sales have been going relatively well. What has happened is, of course, the better price tickets, the gold, silver tickets, have pretty much sold out very quickly shortly after the ticket launch. Because of that now, the bronze is starting to get a lot of activity, and of course the general admission. What had happened last year that we think a lot of people who were purchasing or might be interested in purchasing the general admission tickets was concerned about was the time that the event started. We started last year at 5 p.m. Of course, at that time, anybody sitting in the Eastern Grandstand, the general admission, found themselves faced immediately in the sun. We petitioned the IAAF this year to have a later start, so we're starting at 7 p.m. So persons sitting on that side of the stadium won't have that as a difficulty. We can allay their fears and let them know that the stadium will be comfortable and enjoyable for them. And quite frankly, every seat in this stadium is a great seat. So we're encouraging people to continue to buy their tickets, to go on out, purchase all of the remaining bronze, all of the remaining general admission tickets, and come on out and, as the minister said, let's have a party on May 2nd and 3rd.
Any more questions?
Okay. Will Usain Bolt be in attendance this year's 2015 World Relays?
You know, I would love to say yes to that, but the way this event runs is that final confirmation of athletes from the participating countries isn't until the 20th of April. So as a matter of fact, I don't think right now even Mr. Sands could tell you who will be on the Bahamas' team. So it is something that's a going process. We are, of course, anticipating that he will be. We hope that he will be. He missed out last year, if I may be so bold. He missed out. He didn't attend the Baja Amazing event. The Jamaican 4x200 team set a world record that is currently in the record books without Usain Bolt's name on it for a relay team. I'm sure that's something that he would like to correct this year. So if he does get the opportunity to hear this broadcast, we're encouraging him to come on out and put his name on the record books, rewrite that record, okay?
Seeing you all don't have questions, I just have one more thing to add to it. I forgot to thank a group of young men who did some spectacular work at first time ever seen in a large-scale event in the Bahamas, and that is a team of Stan Burnside, John Beadle, and I think maybe some work by John Jolyon Smith. And you see the remnants of it now in another version in this corner, where you really have the art and culture of the Bahamas in the form of the Junkanoo figures that we put all around the stadium. And we really want to give honorable mention to those tremendous artists and the work that they did and continue to do. As I see, they're back in the studio and they're coming up with some more creative pieces. They're in studio as we speak, and they have some plans to do some spectacular things that week. So I want to do a shout out to Stan and his crew, the artistic community of the Bahamas, who really also put us in an extremely positive light worldwide.
I'd like to also add that we do have an in-house graphic artist, Ms. Shivanti Smith, who's working hand in hand. No further questions? You guys sure? If there are no other questions, we'd like to say thank you all for attending. We are elated to now call this event the IAAF BTC World Relays Bahamas 2015.